Hello, everyone. Welcome to 24 Hours of Past, 20 Years of Past Learnings and Future Vision. We're excited you could join us today for a new Natarajan session, Introduction to Cognitive Search. This 24 Hours of Past consists of 24 consecutive live webinars delivered by expert speakers from the past community. The sessions will be recorded and posted online after the event. You will receive an email letting you know when the recording is available. My name is Carnegie Johnson. I am a past community volunteer and past group virtual group leader. I'm excited to share in our past 20-year celebration, and I look forward to celebrate again for many years to come. I have a few introductory slides before I hand over the reins to Anu. If you require technical assistance, please type your request into the question pane located on the right side of your screen, and someone will assist you. This question pane is also where you may ask any questions throughout the presentation. Feel free to enter your questions at any time, and we will and once we reach the Q&A portion of the session, I will read the questions aloud to the speaker. Also, you are able to zoom in on the presentation content by using the zoom button located on the top of the presentation window. Please note that there will be a short evaluation at the end of the session, which will appear in your web browser after the webinar ends. Your feedback is really important to us for future events, so please take a moment and complete this evaluation. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Microsoft and Intel. The staging of 24 Hours of Past would not be possible without their generous support, and they are the reason this event is available free of charge. If you would like to learn more about Microsoft or Intel and sign up for information on how they can help you, please visit the sponsors page on the 24 Hours of Past website. Keep learning all year long with PASS. Visit pass.org. Check out all of the free educational resources available to PASS members. Also, don't forget that PASS Summit 2019 will be happening on November 5th in Seattle, Washington. Head over to passsummit.com and register today. This 24 Hours of Past session is presented by Anu Natarajan. She is a data and AI consultant with over 15 years of experience working in design and development of data warehouse, business intelligence, AI-enabled applications, and SaaS integrated solutions. Anu is a Microsoft MVP for data platform, a Microsoft certified trainer, and a past community leader. She is passionate about sharing knowledge. She loves to solve complex business problems with innovative solutions using technologies. And without further ado, here is Anu with Introduction to Cognitive Search.
Great. Thanks, Carnegie. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, depending on from which time zone you have joined currently. And welcome for the 24 Hours of PASS. And currently, I'm going to present on Introduction to Cognitive Search today. So before we get into the session, just a brief introduction about myself. As Carnegie mentioned, I'm a data and AI consultant, really passionate about data, and I organize a lot of community events related to like SQL Saturdays, the local user groups back in Wellington, New Zealand. And yeah, thanks for PASS for providing this opportunity to present this session as part of 24 Hours of PASS. So as part of today's session, the agenda that will be covered is around an introduction to cognitive search concepts. Then we will get into understanding of what is really cognitive searches and some aspects of when to really use cognitive search, how it really works, and After that, we will be looking at a few demos in terms of like where cognitive search can add really value and how do we actually set up a cognitive search on Microsoft Azure. Finally, like I have got a references slide which takes you to a certain set of URLs, and whatever I'm discussing or demoing during this presentation, the reference URLs are available in the references slide. So without any further delay, we'll just get into the session. So with the cognitive search, initially I wanted to just walk through some of the basic concepts that we will be going through as part of cognitive search. So the first one is around artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is nothing but an area of computer science where we can create intelligent machines that work like humans. So AI is all about how can you add intelligence to missions so that they can behave in the way like humans, so that when a particular person is interacting with a AI solution, they don't think like they are actually communicating to a mission. Instead, they understand like, okay, behind the scenes, there is someone actually responding to their queries. So the second concept is around cognitive. So cognitive is nothing but involving conscious intellectual activity. So this may be something like thinking or reasoning or remembering. So this is what actually acts in terms of adding intelligence. And finally, like the search, which everyone knows about, it is all about finding the information that you need over the web. So in this session, we are going to look at what is called cognitive search and how actually you can achieve and get advantage over cognitive search on Azure. So what is cognitive search? Cognitive search is nothing but an information system that is capable of extracting relevant information from diverse set of data sources. So we are talking about data that is spread across whether it's in the enterprise or in the web or across a different set of data repositories. How can we get valuable information out of that? Not just by just searching for information, by also adding intelligence to that. So it is a AI future of within Azure Search. So I think you would have heard about Azure Search, which is about you can load lots of information from disparate data sources, and you can search over the metadata of that information to get your results. And you can extract the information from structured or unstructured data sources. So this can be like your structured data sources can be like your Azure SQL database, or you can have like a Cosmos DB, or it can be a CSV file or something. While unstructured data sources can be like your PDF files, like your Excel spreadsheets, and images that you have got like a JPEG or GIF images and so on. And finally, like you can enrich your search with cognitive skills like natural language processing or image processing. So to give an example, like you can extract some of the keywords out of your documents and use them as metadata and index on them, as well as like if you have images or images embedded in your documents, or your document itself is an image, then probably you can extract text out of those images, and you can even search on those metadata information. So that is where cognitive search is really powerful, especially when it comes to like you can add intelligence to your search, and that is which is already available. The Azure search capability is already available, but cognitive search is nothing but adding intelligence to your search also, so that you can bring AI in the way how you do search on a daily basis. So basically, when do you use cognitive search? I think nowadays, like with especially with big data, every organization is collecting a whole heap of information. Or even if you look at the World Wide Web, like there is a lot of information that is spread around. So this information can be either in the structured format, like in CSV files, Excel spreadsheets, or databases, or in semi-structured data like information available in emails, XML files, or JSON files, or it can be in unstructured format totally. Like classic example is your social media messages, images that are sitting in your organization repository, the videos that is available, the text messages, the web page information that is published on websites, the books or information is available in PDF documents. So all these type of unstructured data, now it doesn't matter whether it's structured, semi-structured or unstructured, you can bring all those data and you can get valuable information out of that data for your end users. So where the cognitive like search adds value is also is around adding the intelligence, and one of the intelligence is around like how do you actually do translation of your information. So if you have information available in different languages, like you can just use the translation API, and within cognitive services stack that allows you to do the translation of that information in English and present it to your end users. So cognitive search in simple terms, basically it means it is applying AI to your business documents. Great. So how does cognitive search works? So it is a really simple workflow process if you look at cognitive search. So basically there is an ingestion process. So what it basically does is like it takes data in any format. So any format, as I mentioned in my previous slide, it can be structured, semi-structured, or it can be unstructured. And it takes all that data and from any Azure data store. So currently it supports cognitive search is in preview mode, and it supports data sources that is sitting on Azure. So if you have like a data sources sitting in your blob storage or Azure SQL database or Cosmos DB, probably you can just pull those data through your cognitive search. And then what happens is like you add cognitive service, applies cognitive service over your data sources. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to enrich your search metadata because of the cognitive skills that is getting added to that. And finally, it allows you to explore or basically do your search over that metadata. So what happens is a lot of things happens as part of the enrichment process. So the enrichment process, basically what it does is like if you turn on OCR as part of your enrichment process, it runs the OCR over your files, whether it's text files or image files, and it also extracts the text and indexes them. And the purpose of the cognitive search is taking your search information from the existing documents, applying some intelligence, and finally allowing end users to search over that information. So with cognitive search, Microsoft provides you two ways of you can do it. There is a way you can search directly in the portal. So you can just go and apply cognitive search and directly start searching with the metadata that you're looking for. Or the other option is like it is also provides you an API. So if you have an existing application and you want to just add the search capability or the cognitive search capability to your application, probably you can integrate with that API that is provided by the Azure Search. So as you can see below, so the entire process in terms of ingestion of the data, enrichment of the data, and finally giving the ability to explore the data or search the data, that is what is called as the cognitive search pipeline. So it goes through this workflow process before the information is available for your end users to search on them. So what is my cognitive search pipeline? So if you look at from an architecture perspective, so here you have your data sitting in the Azure data sources. So it gets pulled over. And what happens is as part of the document cracking process, which is nothing but actually understanding the document structure and extracting the information out of that. So once the document cracking process has been done, it sets it applies the cognitive skills, which again applies a series of skill sets. So we'll be looking at what these terminologies mean in the subsequent slide. But what it basically does is like, okay, do I want to extract information out of my images? What are the metadata information I need to be extracting out of my documents or the data stores that I'm querying from? So those are the skills that you can configure which particular metadata that you want to extract, and you can create skill sets out of that. And finally, there is an indexer process which happens when you run the indexer. It starts extracting the documents and applying the cognitive skills into those metadata, and finally provides you an enriched version of the index, which allows the end end user to query to. So that is pretty much what happens during the life cycle of the cognitive search pipeline. So the key enrichment, as part of the enrichment process, the key things that cognitive search can do is more around the OCR, which is extracting information, either handwritten or it is text written on an image, or it can also do language detection. So as I said, like, okay, it can do language detection, as well as if you want, we can do translation also. And finally, like it can do entity recognition. So the key things, like if you have been introduced to cognitive services stack, which is nothing but cognitive services within Azure, is a set of APIs that has been exposed that you can add to either to your existing applications or into your greenfield applications to add intelligence to your applications. So within that stack, I think we have got something called as computer vision API. So the computer vision API is something that is supported by the cognitive search. So computer vision API allows you to extract the handwritten information, do the OCR out of the images, which allows you to analyze the images. It allows you to identify, okay, what is the landmarks that is available in the images, and any brand. So if you have any logos of companies that are well known, and cognitive, the computer Vision API within cognitive services will be able to identify that and provides that information. So those capabilities that you can get out of the computer vision is available as part of cognitive search. The second cognitive API that is also used in cognitive search is the text analytics. So text analytics is all around if you want to do sentimental analysis and other things, you can still use the text analytics API. So with cognitive search, the computer vision as well as the text analytics is already embedded as part of adding the cognitive skills to your Azure search. So those are the two things that is already been available to do that. But these are predefined skills that is available. But if you want to add a custom skill, is it possible to do that in the cognitive search pipeline? Yes. So what you can do is, if you want anything like the one which I mentioned, like the translation one, so I can identify the language, but if the language I identified in the text is not English, and if I want to translate to English, you can create a custom skill, and that custom skill you can use the translation API within cognitive service, and you can do the translation. So out of the box, the two APIs that is available for you for cognitive skills is the computer vision API and the text analytics. But what it gives you is through the custom skills, you can also utilize the other API, cognitive services API, that are available for you to utilize within the cognitive search pipeline. So as I mentioned, like some of the key terminologies that is good to understand within the cognitive search stack. So the first one is around creating a skill set. A skill set is nothing but a collection of skills that define the enrichment pipeline. So when we look at the demo of cognitive search, you will understand like what does skill set mean, because you will be selecting or providing these are the items I need as part of my skill set catalog within the Azure cognitive search, and that's what those are the skills that will be available. So the skills are nothing but, as I said, like what are the image recognition, I want to, like, the images need to be analyzed, I want to extract the brands, I want to do the logo, do I need to really do the OCR? So these are the different type of skills that you can configure, and that forms your skill set basis. The second one is the indexer. So the indexer is nothing but it's like a crawler. So the search engine crawler that extracts the searchable data and metadata from your different documents from your different data sources. The next one is the cognitive skill. Cognitive skill is nothing but it extracts the data and it infers the structure. So if I take a JPEG file, basically cognitive skill is nothing but taking the JPEG file and analyzing the image and extracting the information that it could get out of that image. So that's what the cognitive skill mean. Index, I think everyone knows about it, is especially if you have been using search engines. So index is nothing but a catalog how you can organize your documents through metadata. And enriched documents are nothing but some of the structures, because we are doing adding a lot of cognitive skills as part of your cognitive search pipeline. So enriching documents is nothing but creating some temporary structures that will allow you as part of your enrichment process. And again, those things will be categorized as metadata and will be available as part of your index. And finally, the document cracking process. I think as I explained in my previous slide, document cracking is nothing but taking non-text sources like PDF documents or something and trying to extract information out of those type of documents. And that's what is called as document cracking, which is nothing but some of these unstructured sources you have got, data sources you have got, and trying to extract information out of those unstructured sources is mainly called as document cracking. So these are some of the key terminologies that is good to know, especially when you're dealing with cognitive search. So what are the cognitive skills that you can apply as part of the cognitive search pipeline? So as I said, like the two key cognitive services that are available just as part of configuration is your computer vision API and the text analytics. And so what are the predefined cognitive skills you have got is around the key phrases can be identified from your what do you say, the documents or the data sources from which you are extracting the information. The language deduction, you can do that out of the box. Text merger, entity recognition, sentimental analysis, splitting text splitter, analyzing your images, or doing a OCR over your information that you have got. So these are the predefined cognitive skills that are natively available. But can I create my own custom skills? Yes, you can. So you can create any of your own, you can integrate with any of your own REST API, or you can just use any public APIs that you want to integrate it as part of the cognitive services pipeline, or you can use the Microsoft Cognitive Services APIs. So as I said, only the two APIs that you have as part of the predefined cognitive skills. But if you want to use any of the other cognitive services API, of course, you can integrate them as part of the custom skill. And finally, like if you want to create your own API, so because you may want to just create your own organization API, which you want to integrate as part of your the search of the cognitive search pipeline, yes, you can do that. And again, you can host them on a web app or a Azure function, and you can just call them as part of the cognitive search pipeline. So it is good to understand like what is natively available as a predefined cognitive skill, and what is the capability in terms of custom skills that you can get out of the cognitive search pipeline. Great. So basically, like what do I need to do in terms of if I want to configure Azure Cognitive Search? It is really straightforward. Like if you have previously used Azure Search, it is quite simple, because the first thing you need to do is say provisioning Azure Search Service. And the next step is, as part of once you provision the Azure Search Service, you need to create the data source object. So the data source object, as I mentioned, the only criteria is it has to be the data sources that are available on the Azure cloud. So it's when the question comes in like, okay, can I connect to my on-premises data sources and pull that? It's not available currently in the preview mode. So the current preview mode is limited to the data sources available on the Azure. So it can be either your Azure SQL database or blob storage or Cosmos DB or something, but it has to be on Azure. And then the next process is creating a skill set, and following that is defining the index. So the defining the index process is saying against what are the different metadata columns I want to create my indexes against. And finally, indexer. Indexer is actually your process that runs, which is doing extracting the information out of your documents, applying the cognitive skills, and creating those indexes, and finally making it available. So the indexer is the one that you will be running to do this extraction, the end-to-end process, making the data available, and it can be scheduled. So the indexer process is the one that you can say like, okay, I want to run the indexer on a hourly basis or a daily basis. That allows you to go and crawl the information available from your data sources and make it available for the end users to search. And the final process is getting your data available, the enriched data available for your end users. And as I said, there are multiple mechanisms how you can search the information coming out of the Azure Cognitive Search. The one mechanism is you can use the Azure portal directly. So once you finish your indexing process, then probably you can go there and search for some key information and look for it. Or the second option is basically taking the Azure Search API and integrating with your custom applications that you have got in your organization. So if you really want to just build a website and just integrate the the cognitive search API, you should be able to integrate it, and you can do the search and display the results straight into your application. So without any further delay, we can quickly look at a demo. So before I jump into start creating and provisioning the services within Azure, I just wanted to show something which is like how you can really utilize the cognitive search functionality in an real world application. So this is just a demo on JFK files. It was provided by Microsoft. So as you can see here, so basically the US government released more than 34,000 pages related to the assassination of JFK. So if this is the information, so if you look at like 34,000 amount of pages, and that information was like the files consisted of like either structured, unstructured, and semi-structured information. So these are available and scanned into PDF files as well as some image files. And what Microsoft have done is taken that information and then put it through the cognitive search and then made that API integrated into an application like as you can see here. So this is the website that allows you to search for the information that you want, and probably it will provide you the results. So let us quickly search for a key information. So this is just the final outcome. So this is what you could achieve it, but how do you get into this? We will be looking it into the next part of the demo, which is around how do I actually provision it and catalog it and index them. So as you can see here, like there was a keyword of Oswald was searched, and there are around 857 results that has been provided. And these are the tags that has been highlighted and how many documents are available within these each tags. And as you can see here, the key thing to observe here is that the data that is coming for the search results that is coming is from a whole heap of different data formats here. So I have got printed information, handwritten information here, an image here where the information has been extracted from. And as you can see here, it goes on and on. So it can be either structured, semi-structured, or unstructured information. But this is what the output you will be getting. So it's not going to be Azure Search, Cognitive Search is not going to give you a web page like this. This is something like you can build it in and you can customize it in the way you want. But the content for that is available through the API. Great. So how do we do this? I'm not going to take you through the exact version of how am I going to implement this. So instead, like I'll be showing you a simple example, because for this amount of documents, the indexer process will take some time to run. So we will be using some simple set of files so that I can show you like, okay, the end-to-end creation as well as how can you do the search. Great. So I have already got a resource group here, but I'll just create a new resource group to start with this process. So I'll just create a new resource group called past 24 hours demo. Great, I'll choose a data center that is close to me. Great, so I'm just creating. Great, I'll go to the resource group. Great, so as part of, once you create the resource group, the first thing you need to create is, there are three key things that you need to do. First one is I need a series of documents. So I need to have like for this example to show, especially with search, and I have to have different formats and of information that is available. So I have got a series of files here. So I have got a HTML page, I have got a PNG file, I have got a PowerPoint, PDF, and as you can see here, like a whole heap of files. I'm not going to upload a zip file here. This is just I have downloaded, but it has a JPEG and it has got some text files. So these are the files that are available. So in order to get these files onto Azure, as I mentioned, one of the criteria is the files that you are trying to pull through, whether structured, unstructured, or semi-structured, need to be available on Azure. So what I'm going to create is a simple blob storage to hold my files, the different formats of the files I have got here. So create a storage account. Okay, so I'll just use it as the cognitive search demo files. Great, so I'll use a standard one and I'll just keep it as the thing, review and create them. Great. So what it basically does is it's creating a blob storage so that I can start uploading the documents that I have got on my laptop onto Azure, so that then I can hook it up with the my Azure search, so that it can start doing its indexing process over the cloud data sources. Great. So here's my storage account that has been created. Great. So now I can jump into the blobs. So I'm going to just going to create just a container. Container is nothing but a folder that you can create to hold your documents. Great. So once I create my folder under which I need to hold my documents, now it's my time to upload my images or the documents that I have got. Great. So I'll just quickly get this location. So I'm going to select all my documents except for my zip file and upload them. So now all these documents that are going to be uploaded quickly, because these are small documents, so it shouldn't take much time. Great. So here I have got my data source available. So what I have got here is my storage of all my files. Okay, so this is the first step. So I have got sorted out my storage part where I have got all the files that I needed in order for the Azure search to crawl and create a index for me to search on them. So the second thing I need to provision is more around the Azure search itself. Sorry, just bear with me. Great. So now I'm actually creating a Azure search service. So I'm just going to put it as cognitive search PASS demo. So I'll use the resource group that I have created, which is the 24 hours PASS demo, and choose the location. Great, I'll get the basic one. Great, so that's it. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying and creating a new search service. So then I can use the search service to point to my storage and start pulling the documents and start creating metadata over that information. So quickly jumping on to see like whether my search service has been created. Yes, it is successful. Great, so this is my search service. So the search is ready. Then I have got a blob storage, which has got all the documents that I really require. Great, while this is happening, I'll also create another tab. Okay, so now I need to import my data. So here I open my search service and I'm trying to do the import data process. So the import data is basically saying, okay, where do I get the information from? So here you have got the lot of the, as I said, like it is supported on Azure. So you can see all the Azure data sources here. So I'm going to choose my blob storage as my data source because that's where I have got my documents. And I'm going to say as great. So now I need to use where is the storage for that. So I'm just choosing because I know like within this resource group, I have got a storage account. So I can just use a storage account I created, which is the cognitive search demo files. So here I need to select the folder under which I have got the documents and hit on select here. So it will automatically populate the connection string for my blob storage and as well as what is the container name. The container name is nothing but the folder under which I uploaded all the documents. So the next step, as you can see here, is whether you want to add cognitive search as part of your Azure search. So it's an optional thing. So if you want to add intelligence to your Azure search, that's when you need to go for adding cognitive search. Given our session is all about cognitive search, let us go and add the cognitive search capability to our Azure service, search service. Great. So what once it is loaded, like what it is going to give you is the options. So the options of what are the cognitive skills that you want to add as part of your Azure search service. So that's the next step what we will be doing. So we'll be looking at saying like, okay, do I want to do OCR or do I just go with just scanning through the documents and extracting the metadata out of that. So all that is happening because I have already got a demo working based on that. Great. So this is our previous current one itself has come. So as you can see here, do you want to add attach cognitive services? So in order to do this, you need to have a cognitive services service available on Azure. So within my subscription, I have an existing Azure Cognitive Services service, as you can see here, and I can use this service or I can just say like, okay, I want to create a new one. So I'll just create a new one for this demo separately. So what it is basically doing is, even though I'm part of configuring my Azure search service, if I want to provision cognitive services service, I can just go from there. So it is actually taking me through a different window, but actually what it is trying to do is trying to create a cognitive service within the resource group I have got here. Great. So I can just say like a cognitive service 24 hours. And so it's Australia East. The pricing tier I'm going to use is $0. And it's a 24 hours demo one. And I confirm because it's in preview mode. So now it's actually provisioning the cognitive search here. So once this is provisioned, probably this will be available here for me to look at it. So as you can see here, so now I'm going to just refresh here just to see my new one is created. So this is the cognitive search 24 hours I created. I select this, and the next thing is I can add enrichment. So I can add a skill set name for my particular enrichment process. And I can just specifically say like, okay, what are the things I want to extract? So I want to extract people names out of the documents, any organization names or location names. The purpose for that is like I can extract people names, and because I'm integrating with the computer vision API, it will be able to detect like whether the person is what is a celebrity or something. So now I'll just say create my target index, which is the next step, which is around creating the index based on. So it will take your search data from the blob storage. The second step is trying to add the cognitive skills for your documents. And the third step is basically like creating an index. So it has, I'm going to pre-choose the default ones, which is okay, index on these three columns, like which is the people, organization, and locations, and also the content. Content is the text that has been extracted out of these documents. So finally, I'm asking, okay, create the indexer. So as I said, the indexer is the process that will be created, which will, you have to actually, it creates the indexes with all the information or the configurations it needs. The final process is actually you need to run the indexer. So I'll just submit it. It creates the indexer for me. So it doesn't automatically run. So you may need to trigger that immediately if you want the indexer to run. Otherwise, it will go for a schedule of running it hourly. So what we are seeing here is the wizard, using the wizard to actually create the Azure Cognitive Search. All the steps which I have followed through in this wizard, I can do that through the REST API also. So to give you an example here, so I have got the Insomnia tool, which allows me to just issue some access the REST API, which is the cognitive search REST API, and I can just pass my input and create the data sources. I can create the skill set, and I can create the index. I can create the indexer. And finally, I can check what is the status of the indexer, whether it is running or whether it is processed or something. So exactly the same process what I did using the wizard, I will be able to do that even straight through the API. So if you want to programmatically, whether I'll be able to create programmatically, whether I can create the cognitive search, yes, you will be able to do that. So coming back to here, so I have got index, indexer, and my data sources created. So what I'm going to do is, because it's a subset of documents, I'm going to go and run the indexer process here. So it has created my indexer, but it has never been run. So yes, I want to run my indexer. So while it has started running, I can come back here and look for the status of my indexer. So currently it says 0 documents, no history, because, and if I refresh it, you can start seeing the status changing to processing. So in progress, and as you can see further down, it will start giving me the list of documents that succeeded as part of the indexing process. Just give some time for that to happen, but I can show a similar one, what I have done here. Great. As you can see here, it has completed with some warnings, but it has actually created like a 14. It has indexed to 14 documents. So just jumping on to the other window I have got here. So this is also the other one. So what I'm going to do here is so here, as you can look here, this is the search explorer. So within the Azure portal itself, you can actually issue a search in order to search the output of the scrolling process. So what it has done is the indexer has grabbed all the documents that I got on the Azure Blob storage, and it added the necessary cognitive skills that I have predefined and selected as part of my configuration process. And finally, now it is available for me to issue my search criteria. So I'm going to quickly use the Search Explorer to test that. Great. So what I'm doing is actually, this is the URL. It is going to actually the REST API URL that is available. But here the search is basically the parameter. If I give asterisk, it searches everything. But I'll just go and give some meaningful information. Look for, I've already got these things defined. So I'm going to go and look for the word Microsoft. Sorry, it's not to be put here, and hit on search. So as you can see here, because I have included the content part also, so it has gone through and figured out the documents that has got the word Microsoft and probably anywhere within the document, and pretty much it brought all the content information. So we can fine tune this to say like, okay, look for in particular search fields, because as I said, like as part of the cognitive skills that we added, we said like, okay, you include, look for the fields of type organizations. So look for the word Microsoft where the organization name is Microsoft. And again, we got this, and as you can see here, the organization has got the metadata has extracted the word Microsoft. So these are the documents where it has extracted from the document. These are the which has got the organization name Microsoft, and it cognitive services detected it as saying like this is a recognized organization. So it's not only Microsoft, so any organizations it could extract out of the text, it will be grouping it under the organization. And this is what the intelligence means by. So let us quickly do, if I want to see quickly how many documents has got this, so I have to just include the count equal to true here, just in case it is not visible. So this is the thing I have given here. So I'm just going to quickly issue a search. Great. So it gives me a count around 7 documents has got the word Microsoft where as part of the organization it has searched. Finally, like this is much more additional things that you can do as part of the search. So what we are doing here is look for the word Microsoft. The search field is organization, but I don't want this content because this is so disrupting for me to exactly see what it is providing me. So I'm just saying, give me only the people, organization, and locations information. So as you can search here, you can see like now the content is no longer appearing. It gives me only the columns that I'm interested to see. And the other thing that will be, everyone will be curious and say like, because I had some images also in here. So as you can see, like I have a Scott Guthrie image available as part of this document. So just out of curiosity, if I can search for the image here, so I will just give Guthrie. Great, it didn't give me what I was looking for. Did I use the right word? Great. So I think I need to check back because what is the setting I included? Because as part of you selecting the cognitive skills setting, like you can specify whether OCR need to be done or not. By default, the OCR option is not selected. So if you want to do OCR on your documents, which is like especially images, where you want to extract information out of the images, then probably you have to do this. So let me look for the keyword Satya. So it gets me the documents related. Yes, so this is the letter. So there is a text document which there is a letter from Satya, and now because it has come from him, and as you can see here, so it's now came as part of the search. Great. So basically, this is what it allows you to do. So the you can have certain columns like with cognitive search, you can say like, okay, search for the key people here, search for landmarks. So if you have documents or images that has got landmark information, I think the computer, because it is integrated with the computer vision API, it can extract the landmarks and it will be making it available for you to search on that. Or it can just do for organizations and people, and also like brands and other things. So what it's really good is like anything that you could do with the computer vision API, then pretty much you can integrate that out of the box through your Azure Cognitive Search. So this search is really powerful because previously we were able to just search on just the information like the textual information, but now we have more power. Like we can do more than just crawling through the text information. We can just do crawling through images, extracting information out of handwritten information. We can also do like sentiment analysis over those documents and things, and you can present it. And finally, the custom skill. As I said, like you can write your own custom skill, and you can introduce those custom skills also as part of the pipeline, the cognitive search pipeline. So I think now the search is going to take a totally a different dimension with the cognitive search, and that's what the example that you have shown here. So as you can see here, this is the final REST, the API that you can have access to. This is available within your Azure portal and within your resource group, and you can easily access it through any of your applications. So you can build your own web page and you can provide the search mechanism, and then you can decide on what type of search capability that you want to give to your end users. Great. So that's what pretty much I wanted to show as part of the demo. So what we really saw is like how you can utilize the Azure Cognitive Search like in a web app or something. But behind the scenes, how do you normally set it up from scratch? So what do you need to provision? You need a repository for your data, and it has to be set off Azure. The storage has to be on Azure currently. So currently it's in preview mode. So I'm not sure whether when they go into GA, whether they will support on-premises source or not, but the current preview version supports only Azure data sources. And then the next thing is you provision your Azure Search. And as part of the provisioning process of Azure Search, you can also add cognitive skills. If you want to add cognitive skills as part of your Azure Search service, then probably you need to have a cognitive service provisioned also, and which you can provision as part of that process. And finally, you run your index, it creates your indexer, and then you need to finally run the indexer, and you can schedule the indexer to run on a periodic basis, and then it's the search is available for end users. So there are some key references here that you can use in terms of like if you want to get started with the Azure Search initially. So you can have Azure Search without introducing having cognitive integrate services integrated to that, but I think your search gets more powerful when you have the cognitive capability added to that. So that's a thing I just wanted to cover as part of this session. And great. And I think it is time for me to hand it over so that we can do the wrap up and to Carnegie. And finally, like if you have any questions, I'll be just available to answer those questions.
Hi, thank you,
Over.
Anu. Great presentation. We have a couple of questions in our question queue.
Sure.
And our first question is from Naswama. It says, can I evaluate school essays, poetry, language proficiency from using cognitive skills?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? Sorry, I was just.
The question is, can I evaluate school essays, poetry, language proficiency using cognitive skills?
Yes, I think so. Provided it is already supported as part of the text API. So in the text analytics API, If that can be already, that is, if it is available, then definitely yes, it will be available here. If not available as part of the text analytics API, you can build your own custom skill to incorporate that.
Okay. Let's move to another question from a different user. Abhishek asks, what training data is used for computer vision?
Okay, so what training data is used for computer vision? So computer vision API actually uses, so this is pre-trained models. So we don't, as an end user, we don't have access to those models. So these are pre-trained models within Microsoft, and Microsoft predominantly use a lot of things from their Bing search and the output from that as part of those models. So that's the reason, as part of computer vision API, you can recognize the common domain objects. So for instance, like you can recognize whether I have got an image in there, have I got what the type of object, the generic objects in there. So you can find out like, okay, have I got a car on the image? Have I got a photograph on the image? Does the image has got a cloud? So those things you can do. But what it can't do is it can detect there is a car on the image, but you can't use computer vision API to say like, okay, what brand of the car it is, what model it is, and what make it is. So if you want to get down to that level of detail, then you have to move on to the custom vision API. So computer vision API is the common domain objects that are available, and these are pre-trained models by Microsoft. So you can't just change them. If you want to create your own model, then probably you have to use the custom vision API.
Okay. And we have time for one more question. Durga asks, why is the search score very low? And I believe he was
Great.
talking to the demo.
Okay, so if I understand the question correctly, why the search score really low, correct?
Really low. Yes.
Yes. So it could be various reasons. One is the resolution of so it depends on, I'm not sure exactly, was it an image or is it a document? So it could be the quality of the information, especially like I think that if it is a handwritten information, as you know, that also determines why the score could be low for that. So the second thing is the OCR information that currently, I think the current version, I'm not sure what it is using, because computer vision OCR has got two versions, version 1 and version 2. Initially the version 1 is not as powerful in terms of OCR capability, but the version 2 has got it. But what I'm not sure is what version of the computer vision API has been integrated in the preview version of cognitive search. If I find that information, probably I'll post it on my blog.
All right, fantastic. Well, that wraps it up for our questions and I think our time. Next slide. Coming up next is another great session by Razor Red, Power BI for Enterprises. Stay tuned for the next session. And thank you for attending. And you may learn more about Anu and PASS by visiting Anu's blog and also following her on Twitter. All right, thank you, everyone. This concludes our 24 hours of PASS session.
Great, thanks everyone, and thanks to PASS for providing me the opportunity to present the session.